Well, everybody, hello. Welcome to another episode of Afterthought. Episode 15. My brother, we have one more after this, and then we have a little break for the summer. We call it summer hiatus. We don't call it summer hiatus.
No, that's what we've been calling it for a very long time now.
I don't know why I said that. And we're going to have that over like the graphic Faith summer hiatus. Yeah. And Austin, I was thinking, since next week's our last episode of the season 2, not a season 2,
the
season 2, I think we should have Faith in the hot seat.
Okay.
And we should do a Taylor Swift quiz.
Deal. We'll see if she's a real fan.
Yeah, we'll see. We should do Faith, Taylor Swift. I wonder who else knows about as much about Taylor Swift as Faith did. Because we could do like
no one, because she sucks.
I know. I was thinking who we could do like across from her as like a little competition to see who knows more. I don't know anybody.
Satan.
Oh my! Dude, that got me. Oh my gosh!
Probably the only person who knows her because he has her soul.
Faith, this is incredible. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I think we do 10 questions for Faith next week on Taylor Swift, and we see how many she gets right.
Deal.
How do you feel about that, Faith?
I'm just going to start making them up. Who was your second dog that died last year? Well.
Whoa. Do you know her cat's names?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe she does know pretty well.
Lucifer.
No,
No, it's Cinderella.
maybe she does know a lot about this. Okay, so I say we end it next week with that.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right. And then we'll do and then I have a buzzer next to her, and if you get it wrong, I'll go like that.
So the pressure's on.
Like the taboo buzzer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
We'll bring that from home.
Okay. I like it.
Because we're getting Faith in the mix next week. Faith is she's just too much fun to be sitting behind a camera. We're bringing her in, people. And then season 3, she have her own chair. I just can't wait. I wish I could just turn the camera.
In case you guys don't know, she
has a director's chair right now. I love that she has a director's chair. She's like directing from behind a light right now.
She is.
And I can't see her face, which drives me crazy.
I can see it.
All right, because I want to see her face when she goes this to me.
She's been smiling and laughing this whole time.
Oh, she has? Okay, good. That means we're making her laugh. All right, what do you have today, bud? So next week, Taylor Swift for Faith.
Taylor Swift for Faith.
Yeah.
I thought it would be fun to switch things up today. So I've got an all things 80s quiz for you today.
Before we go on a hiatus?
Before we go on summer hiatus.
Dude, I love 80s.
Yeah.
If you don't know, that's my favorite genre of music.
It is. So,
which, by the way, you and Alyssa are huge 80s fans because every time you got in my car when you were kids.
Yeah, it was the 80s
That's
Sirius
all
XM.
That's all it's on.
80s on 8. Yeah.
80s on 8.
So this is like all things 80s. So there's some music, some movies, some just 80s era stuff.
All right, we'll see how I do.
I mean,
no
you were
pressure
alive then, so maybe.
No pressure.
And there's no particular order to this. I just as they came up online, I just kind of wrote them down. So
kind of
scatterbrained.
80s, little here, Faith, you have a little graphic pop up 80s quiz. Bing, bing, all things 80. Okay.
Bing, bing.
Bing, bing, just like that. Just like this right here. Ding, ding, like this. Something from the 80s. Ding, ding, like that.
If you can get Can't Stop Me, that would be perfect.
If you get that.
If you guys know that reference.
Oh, if you haven't seen season 1. Can't Stop Me.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Question number 1. I figured we'd make it easy.
Okay.
Who was the president who got elected president in 1981?
Ronald Reagan.
Heck yeah, he was.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Who sang Sweet Child of Mine? Like what band?
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses. 2 for 2. Look at that. See, we're keeping it light and breezy.
I love this.
Yeah. Okay, number 3.
By the way, Mom and I are going to a little concert this summer.
Yeah, you are.
You, Alyssa, Marissa, and Dustin got us tickets.
Yep.
Faith, we're going to see Def Leppard and Journey in concert this summer, which I don't know if that means anything to you.
Do you not know who either one of those are?
Have you ever heard the
Don't
song
Stop Believing?
That's
Journey.
Believing.
And then Pour Some Sugar on Me. What?
Pour some
Really?
sugar on me.
Still.
Def Leppard and
My
Journey.
sister was born in 2000.
And then they're opened. The band opening up for them is Cheap Trick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's in Orlando. I cannot wait. It's in July. I can't wait.
It's going to be good.
Ah, it is. But don't worry. The podcast will be on hiatus. Okay. I'm 2 for 2.
Okay. Number 3. Who played Marty McFly in Back to the Future?
Michael J. Fox.
Okay. 3 for 3.
Mm-hmm.
What was the highest grossing film of the 1980s?
I'm going to say E.T.
That would be correct.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Put a little bass in it. I can't believe I just got that right. By the way, to this day, first movie I've ever really cried in.
Was E.T.?
Yeah.
That's so funny because you watch it back now and you're like, this is so stupid.
This
is dumb. Yeah.
Elliot. But when I saw it in the theater, I cried so hard. I was like, no. I cried so hard.
Don't phone home.
Don't phone home. He's dying, Elliot. Come on.
All right, number 5. Okay, so you're 4 for 4.
Hey, what was E.T.'s favorite candy in E.T.?
I don't know.
Reese's Pieces.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I blocked out my memory because I would die if I tried it.
I remembered it. Because Austin's like the peanuts, he'd die.
All right, number 5.
Okay.
Best of Enemies was the title of an ESPN 30 for 30 documentary on the rivalry between the Boston Celtics and what other NBA team?
Chicago Bulls.
No.
Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah. I was like, it's really a throw up between
Magic
one
Johnson
and the two.
played in that era because Larry Bird played for the Celtics. Magic Johnson played for the Lakers.
Yep.
That was also Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy. Yeah. D. Brown played for the Lakers. I don't know if he played for the Celtics at that time, but
Good rivalry, though. One of the historic rivalries.
so I got it wrong.
Yeah. But, I mean, you're right there. Could have gone either way.
Okay.
All right.
Faith, do you know who Larry Bird is? One of the greatest three-point shooters of all time.
She said no.
Okay. He played for the Celtics. It was awesome. Went to Indiana State University, not to be confused with Indiana University. Not IU, but Indiana State University.
Legend.
He
wore Converse.
I had
one of the studs to wear Converse while I played.
Larry Bird,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, number 6. A 30-kilometer wide zone of alienation around the ghost town of Pripyat, however you want to pronounce that, was created after the April 1986 disaster as what was highly radioactive. What was that site called?
Is it in Vegas? Is it?
No, it's not in the U.S.
Oh, Chernobyl.
Yeah, Chernobyl. Chernobyl, if you guys don't know, some bad juju went down. Nuclear
Chernobyl.
plant.
Do you know about Chernobyl, Faith?
She said no.
Okay, it's Chernobyl.
These 2,000 kids, man,
Well,
I'll tell you.
Listen, just hang around me. I've got some 80s history for you.
I honestly didn't know that was in the 80s until I looked it up, but yeah, Chernobyl.
So I got it right.
You did.
Okay.
Okay.
I asked about Vegas, but Chernobyl.
All right, next up. You would like this one.
Okay.
The opening of a crate and revealing a leg lamp is a pivotal scene of what 1983 holiday classic?
A Christmas
movie?
Story.
A Christmas Story.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen that, it's amazing.
Faith, have you seen that one before?
She's seen that.
Just a trial, kid. That's that one.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm. And the sequel is just as good.
Didn't see the sequel yet, but
Made me cry.
that was the second movie.
That was the second.
After E.T.
It was E.T., top grossing movie of all time, and Christmas Story 2. Very close second.
All right, next. What Super Bowl winning QB was known as the comeback kid?
Oh, I'm going to say Doug Flutie.
No.
Jim McMahon.
No.
Okay. The comeback kid.
He was also known as Joe Cool.
Joe Namath.
No. Other Joe. Played with the greatest receiver of all time.
Jerry Rice. But the quarterback would be not Joe Namath, but Joe. Oh, my gosh. Played for the 49ers.
Yeah.
San Francisco. I see his face right. Montana.
Yeah, that's it.
Dog, nabbit.
I thought you were going to get that one. I thought that was easy.
Me too.
All right. Here's a good one. You should get this, I think. In 1982, Michael.
But you know that I knew all. You like to know all those quarterbacks, right? I was like,
You
Doug
just
Flutie.
started throwing them out there.
I just threw them out there.
I was like, Doug Flutie. That was
Jim McMahon. What? Okay, he played for the Bears.
Yeah,
in the '80s,
one of the
dynasty teams.
Very few decent Bears quarterbacks ever to exist.
Loved it. He played with the Fridge and Walter Payton.
Yep.
All right.
In 1982, Michael Jackson released an album that later became one of the best-selling albums ever. What album was that?
Thriller.
Thriller.
I actually had the album. It was a album that opened up, and there's like a layout of Michael Jackson laying down like a tiger or something like
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is sick. I mean, if you could do an album cover with a lion or a tiger, that'd be pretty dope.
that. Faith, have you ever heard that album before? Michael Jackson Thriller?
No? Do you listen to any Michael Jackson?
What we should do next week is
We should quiz her on everything other than Taylor Swift and just see what she knows
next week is
about the
we
rate
should
of the
do
world.
Faith, Taylor Swift trivia against me, Michael Jackson trivia.
I like it. Yeah.
Amazing. I
I
just
think
missed
if
that whole
what if we
interaction.
did Michael? I said we should do trivia next week on everything other than Taylor Swift just to see how much she knows about the actual world.
Let's do it.
And
Who's president in 2023? Taylor Swift. Wrong. Who's the greatest quarterback of all time? Taylor Swift. Wrong.
I think that'd be fun. Okay, but yeah, we could do. Faith answers all Michael Jackson. You have to answer all Taylor Swift, and it would be 0 for 0.
Let's do it. That'd be incredible.
That'd be good. That'd be good. Okay, I've got 2 more questions
All right.
and then a bonus after that. So,
Okay, ding, ding, ding.
Next, what was the first ever music video to air on MTV?
Take on me.
No,
Video killed a radio star.
that's it.
Daggone it.
Video killed the radio star.
I should just go with my gut on the first one.
You should. Last one. We'll end with the easy one.
Okay.
What yellow dot eating creature made its debut in 1981?
Yellow Pac-Man.
Yeah, that was it.
What's the bonus?
The bonus.
Okay.
Who is the greatest basketball player ever?
His name would be Michael Jordan.
Yep. And it's written on the quiz, so it's factual, people.
Yeah, he should just who's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, I've never met Michael Jordan. Love to meet Michael Jordan. But everyone always says he's just not that nice.
I hear it
Bro,
too.
have you seen all the reels of him just like walking by? Can I get an autograph? Like,
Being
shut
the
up,
most
kid.
rude.
I'm like, oh my gosh, bro. We just paid millions of dollars for your shoes.
know.
Sign somebody's autograph.
Yeah. Like stiff arm a kid.
Oh, give somebody an autograph, bro. We just spent $300 on your shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not super nice.
Yeah,
What do you think Taylor Swift is? Do you think she's nice, Faith?
You know, I've heard she's nice, but
Yeah.
that's all what the devil does. He draws you in with kindness.
He pulls you in.
He pulls you in with acting nice and kind, and once you get to know the real him, everything changes.
That's so incredible.
I would just
oh my
imagine.
gosh. This is the
pretty,
best
it's pretty
podcast
similar
ever.
to Taylor Swift.
There's going to be so many Taylor Swift little emojis and stuff pop up on this whole podcast. Like, it's going to be awesome. Okay, shifting gears. Are you ready, Faith? Boop, 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 boop. Churchology, week 2. Dude, people are loving this series. I mean, we did 1 week, but people were like, oh my gosh, this was great.
Sign up for basics.
Yeah, no, we should have done another one. Should have done another week.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, and then we're going to end with.
Sorry, guys. We would have got another week, but we have a summer hiatus.
Sorry, guys. Hiatus. Hiatus. Churchology. There's only 3 foundations of churchology. No, there's several. Go to basics and sign up for it last Sunday of every month.
That was good.
Strap yourselves into the log ride, kids.
I was like, you sound like the prospectors.
That's what I was going for. They'll
Yeah,
prospect.
that was good.
Okay, shifting gears.
Shifting gears. Okay.
Let's go. What we got?
Okay,
What
so
we got?
this week we talked about forgiveness.
We did.
And one of the points that you made was conflict. Talking
Yeah.
about conflict and
Yeah.
how it's just inevitable. So my question is, since conflict is inevitable,
Yep.
should we try our best to avoid it or just go right after it since it's
I think since
unavoidable?
conflict is, I think what happens is conflict's inevitable. Why? Because life is real. Life happens. You were created to do life in relationship. And since you're created to do life in relationship and you're not perfect and I'm not perfect, conflict's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're going to get tired. We're going to get frustrated. You're going to bum me out. I'm going to bum you out. It's going to happen. And I think that what we have to understand is with conflict, when it does happen, there's an opportunity when conflict happens. I remember, my old pastor, Richard Clark, he used to always say, conflict is an opportunity always for relationship growth or relationship devastation.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea would be this, is like when conflict hits, I can see it as, man, right now it's an opportunity for you and I to grow in our relationship and be honest and talk, or it's an opportunity for us to distance ourselves and dissolve the relationship. Right. I think the reason why most people dissolve the relationship is because conflict resolution is hard.
Yeah.
And
it's much
no
easier.
No one wants to do the hard thing. They want to do the easy thing.
Right.
But I'll be honest with you, some of the best friendships, I mean, I think about some of the friends I have now, the best friendships I've ever had are the friendships that you have the hard conversation.
Right.
Is the hard conversation easy? No, which is why it's called a hard conversation.
Right.
No one, I don't know of anybody. Now, I'm sure there are people, but I don't know of anybody that loves the hard conversation.
Yeah, no. I think you're right. There are some people who just kind of thrive
and
on
I
it.
think that's because they want to go into it being proven right
Yep.
instead of having forgiveness or having relationship.
They're not trying to dissolve the conflict. They're just trying to make sure that
they're right. Trying to make sure they're right. And I think that's when you go into those conversations going, man, I'm just going to go in and prove myself, or I'm going to go in for us to develop a better relationship out of this.
Yep.
And conflict's going to happen. I think, when Mom and I first got married, I mean, almost 28 years we've been married now. And what I've learned is, like, if I would avoid the conflict, then I'm wondering what she's thinking. And then it doesn't allow it to ever heal. It doesn't allow it to ever get better, because then I'm just harboring feelings. I'm still irritated. So she does something else and I didn't bring it up again. So what happens? Resentment sets in. Once resentment sets in, man, I know myself well enough to know this. I'm pretty forgiving. I'm pretty forgiving until I'm not. And that's when I know myself well enough to know that I've got to continue to be forgiving. And that doesn't mean that I sweep it under the rug, but I know myself well enough to know that, man, once I get a little calloused, then I'm not good for the relationship.
Right.
I'm done with the relationship. And I think a lot of people do that same thing. They don't bring it up. Let's say that you're mad at me, right? And let's say that I keep making you mad. And instead of you going, hey, Dad, you're kind of bumming me out here, I keep making you mad, and then all of a sudden you blow up and you hate me and we don't talk for 20 years. I'm like, dude, what the heck happened? Like, we just had one conversation. Well, in my mind, it's one conversation. In your mind, it's 36 conversations.
Right.
And so I think you've got to be able to talk through those things before they get to that level where you walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at spouses, parents, brothers, siblings, bosses, friends. Something happens, the relationship's dissolved, you have no idea what happened. What happened was you weren't honest.
Yep.
And I think that the conflict is going to happen, but you've got to be honest with yourself to have a hard conversation if the relationship is worth it, which I would say it is. You got to gauge in, like, is the relationship worth it? I would say yes. I mean, I think about staff members I've had hard conversations with. Is the relationship worth it? Absolutely.
Yep.
So it's going to be a tough conversation. They probably won't like it. I won't like it. But at the end of the day, what I'm really trying to do is have a better relationship with them.
For sure. And you think about relationships like you brought up. I feel like so many people, when they first start dating, they're like, this is great.
Yeah,
we're meant to be together. We haven't fought a single time. You're like, that's not saying it's a great relationship, because if you're not being honest with each other, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yep.
So, and that's with every facet of every type of relationship there is, friendship, parents, kids, whatever. You just need to be honest, because forgiveness and really just getting things off your chest is the most important thing. I know I'm the type of person who holds everything in, and then I just blow up, and it's just like, exactly what you're talking about. Just like, what the heck just happened?
What just happened? I didn't see that one coming.
And I'm like, well, I hate conflict, so I really do just try to keep it in until I can't anymore. And that's something I'm working on. So that's why this message was so good for me, because I'm like, not even just for the forgiveness aspect, more so just the conflict aspect of it, just getting things.
I think it shows you, if you're willing, if you value the relationship, you're willing to have the hard conversation. Yeah. And, it's kind of crazy. Like Mom and I, because we've been married so long now, we're able to have tough conversations. Like, even we work together. And I'll start it off by going, hey, there's a couple things that have kind of bummed me out, or I want her to say the same thing to me. Because what you don't want to do is to continue to fester. Or let's say that, Faith did something to bum me out, or Stephanie or Marie or you or whatever. I want to be able to say, like, hey, I love you guys. And so it's not personal, but we need to work through this so it doesn't, and I want the same back. Because the relationship investment is so important. And I think it shows how much you value the relationship with how much you're willing to dive into the conflict resolution. Yeah. And I think I've had to grow into it. Obviously, when I was probably your age, I hated conflict. I don't want conflict. But I think the older I got, what I realized was I can't fix what I don't know is broken. And so I began then welcoming in the hard conversations, as hard as they were. And that doesn't mean that they're easy. That doesn't mean that you don't get diarrhea over it and lose sleep over it. It's tough.
Right.
But it's more important to me to have the conversation, to go, hey man, I don't want this funkiness anymore. And we're going to have the conversation. 'Cause like you said, it's like you hold it in and you hold it in and hold it in, and then you explode. And then everyone's like, what the heck just happened? And that's, I think, when I was getting my undergrad in college, I was in a psychology course. I got a double major, major in preaching and a major in counseling. And in my counseling course, I remember them saying the number one dissolver of relationships, whether it's marriage, whether it's friends, whatever, is lack of communication. Mm-hmm. They said you have to communicate everything. I'm an over communicator, which I know drives people crazy. If you are close to me, close friends to me, I'm an over communicator, which drives so many people crazy. But I'm the kind of person that I want, and Mom will tell me sometimes, and I'll be in meetings and I'll say things like the exact same thing 5 times. Growing up, I would say the same thing to Alyssa 5 times, and she's like, "You've said it already." I'm like, "I know, but I'm not going to not over communicate."
Right.
And they said in my counseling class, it's like, if you're a married couple, you talk about what makes you mad, talk about sex, talk about fights, talk about money, talk like all the things that you probably don't want to talk about, you have to talk about, because if you don't communicate it, you hold it in and you harbor feelings, there's resentment, and the relationship splits, and you're just like, I have no idea what happened.
Yeah.
And so I would just say, if you're watching out there and you hate conflict's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I understand you hate conflict, but resolution has to happen. Forgiveness has to happen, because otherwise we're going to turn our backs on tons of relationships that could make you a better person in the long run.
Yep, for sure. And you can take baby steps. It doesn't have to be like you tackle the biggest problem that you have immediately. Yeah. Take baby steps, because I doubt the only issue is that gigantic issue.
That's
you
right.
can tackle the easy ones. Maybe they're like chewing with their mouth up and be like, hey, can you close your mouth when you chew? Like, start off with the easy conversations, because it's only going to build up to make, first of all, open the door for the bigger conversation, but also to make the bigger conversation easier.
Well, and I remember, reading books on friendships and deep relationships, whatever, and most relationships only go to 80%. It's the extra 20% that builds a great friendship, but it's the extra 20% that sucks. It's the extra 20% that is the hard conversation. It's the anger that you work past. It's that, but what happens in the extra 20% is you build a foundation, a relationship that dude, we've gone 100% now. We've communicated hard. We've said some things, but we've also forgiven each other. That's like siblings. Like siblings go the extra, most siblings go the extra 20. It's tough, but you're like, I'm sticking up for my brother or sister.
Right.
And so I've only got a few friendships in my life where it's like, I'm going the extra 20 and it hurts and it sucks. And man, I feel like I've got the beat down, but I'm there for you. Like something happens, I got your back,
for sure. Well, that extra 20%, that's the difference between a seasonal friend and a friend for life.
100%.
The extra 20% is the people who, if something changes and maybe the rest of the world can look at it and be like, what the heck are they doing?
Yeah.
That 20%, whether they agree with you or not,
Yeah.
they are sticking by your side.
Yeah.
When you guys started Anchor Church, there were so many people who didn't come with us, but they still supported you guys because you had that extra 20%.
That's right.
The people who were just the 80%, whether they agreed and came or they didn't, they just kind of did their own thing. But that extra 20%, that's how you're going to get those lifelong relationships.
And those extra 20% show you can count on.
For sure.
I mean, like Mike and Allison, who started the church with us, Mike and Allison Griffin. Dude, those are like, that's the 20%. Yeah. Like, dude, those are the people that see you good, bad, and ugly, right? I think like we got people on our staff that have seen the good, bad, and ugly out of me, and they love me anyway. You and Alyssa, it's like you see, it's like, man, we love each other, and like we go through our seasons, but just relationships are tough. They are tough, but they're worth it. They're just so worth it. And I know that you're not going to go the extra 20 with everybody.
Right.
Like I think I'm realizing too at my age, like I don't want I will have seasonal friendships, but I don't want those because if I'm investing everything I have in a seasonal friendship and you're a seasonal friend, then I don't want to invest in that. Like,
for sure.
I want to invest in those that want to go the extra 20.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets tiring where you're investing, but there's no reciprocated investment.
Yeah. And
those are the ones that get tiring. You're like, man, I'm pouring everything in here, man. Like just a little bit of love back. And so I'm looking for those kind of friendships now going, man, I want to be a friend of those that want to be a friend to me. you have acquaintances, you have seasonal friends, but the older you get, you're just like, dude, I want to be a ride or die for like a handful of people, and those are the people that I'm gonna do life with.
For sure. The buy-in has to be reciprocated, or else it's not going to work. It's the same thing with a marriage, same thing when you're dating, same thing with a friendship.
Yeah.
If I'm giving 100%, they're giving me 50 back, it's not going to work because I'm giving everything, they're giving half. So,
and I think that's sometimes where the conflict sets in too. Is like even in a marriage, it's like I'm giving you everything. You're not, and those are the kind of things you have to communicate. Like I've communicated to friends before, like, hey, I feel like I'm investing a lot here, but the investment's not coming back. And for us to be the kind of friends I think we can be, there's going to have to be an investment back. And that's where the communication, and that's hard. That's a hard conversation. It sounds a little arrogant, and it doesn't mean to be. That's just like, man, listen, if we're going to have that deep friendship that I think we can have and we need to have, then I'm going to need a little bit more from you.
Yep.
And if they don't give it, then, I don't want to beg anybody to be my friend.
For sure.
But you don't want to beg them, but you just are like, hey, man, then if I got to beg you to be my friend, then I got to beg you to stay my friend. And I just not in the begging business.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, do you love me? And that's great. But it goes back to your first question. It's like that idea of conflict's going to happen.
Yep.
The idea is like, how bad do you want to communicate in the conflict? If you just want to let it go and let it dissolve, then the relationship didn't mean that much to begin with. You know? But if you want to have the hard conversation, it's a hard conversation, and your friend, spouse, whatever, they'll know it's a hard conversation, but the fact that you're willing to have it shows you really care.
Yep. And the last thing I'll say about this, because I know we went on for a long time about this question, but half of asking the question, or when you ask the question, most of the result is maybe just you needing to understand who
Probably
that person.
True.
They might not even know that they're doing what they're doing, or they might think that they're giving 100%, but it's just in a different way than you think it should be.
That's right.
Because everyone's different. So you might be looking for reciprocated acts back to you that you're giving.
Yeah.
But they're trying to give it back to you in the only way they know how to. So it's just really having that conversation to understand each other better is half the problem.
Well, dude, let's go. Okay, let's go down that lane for a second, because I'm thinking about your talk, basically love languages.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably where like I get frustrated in relationships, because it's like, I am a words of affirmation, physical touch guy, right?
And mom is the same.
So she's not. Mom is a quality time.
Yeah.
But quality time just doesn't mean even like I have to touch you, or it's like I could be next to you and ignore you and be on my phone for an hour, but as long as we're close to each other, that's all I need. I'm like, that's not going to work for me. So, what I've had to learn over the years is with friends I have, let's say people on staff, right? If I don't know Faith's love languages, it's going to be really hard for me to be a great friend. And if she doesn't know my love languages, it's going to be really hard for that to be reciprocated.
Yep.
If I don't know what I know you're a words of affirmation, physical touch guy. That we're same like that. And so, if I'm always finding out what other people's love languages are and pouring into them, right? But not getting reciprocated back. You could be like, okay, let's say that Faith thinks that my love language is gifts. And so she's giving me gifts all the time. And I'm just like, man, these are great, but I just really love for you to tell me I'm doing a great job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
If I don't communicate that to her, then she's going to always forever get me these gifts that I'm sure are going to be a great gift, but it's not going to fill my emotional tank.
But in her head, she's like, I am loving
She's
this
like, what happened to the friendship? I freaking gave that guy like 400 gifts. I'm like, I know, and the gifts were incredible, but I just wanted you to say I love you,
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of things where I know the friends I have in my life. I know what their love languages are, because I want to be astute enough to be like, man, that's their love language. And then so if you're listening right now and you're like, what is my spouse's love language? What is my friend's love language? What is my coworker? Like, if you don't know that, you need to find that out, because you may be investing in them in a way that they're not receiving the investment.
Yeah.
So they're getting frustrated because they're like, why is my friend not love me? They love you. They just don't know how to,
How to,
right?
Yeah.
And so I would say, man, like, do some homework, figure out, and I like ask, like, Faith, what is your love languages? I know yours is words of affirmation. Gifts. Yours is gifts, acts of service. Gifts, quality time, acts of service. So, and I tell Faith all the time, you're doing an amazing job. So basically that means nothing. So I just need to buy you something. So like, okay, now that you know. So if you're a friend of Faith's, everyone knows right now, it's quality time, acts of service, gifts. But gifts is your first one, Faith, right? Gifts is your first one. Austin's is words of affirmation, physical touch. Mine's words of affirmation, physical touch. And the crazy thing is, the people you've invested in that go the extra 20, those are the people that really, like, Okay. Let's say there could be 30 people on a Sunday that go, man, sermon was great.
Yeah.
Does that mean anything to me?
Yeah,
of course it does. But the people in your life you've gone the extra 20 with, if they're like, hey, sermon was spot on, I'm like melting because I'm like, you know what I mean? So like I've told people before, like Mom has never told me like I've done a bad sermon. But she said to me like, no, she's been like, after service, she's like, wasn't your best.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it crushes me. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, when she does then say, great message, then I'm like,
Then you're like, yeah.
I'm okay. Great.
Yeah, that was great.
Great. You know? I love that. You know, I love those friends that can say that, because then when they do give me a compliment, that means I value that, because I know you're just not feeding me a line.
Yep.
You're telling me the truth.
For sure.
So I would say, when it comes to relationships, I love that we've gone down this road a little bit, because it's good. Because let's be honest, man, people we're not good at relationships.
No.
Like we're just not. Like we think we are. We think we are like God's gift to relationships, but we're not. And I think some things that would help us is learn how to be a deep friend to somebody. Mm-hmm. Don't be a seasonal friend with everybody. Have those people in your life you can go the extra 20 with. Find out their love language. Find out how to love on them. Find out how to pour into them. Find out how to be honest with them. Find out how to have a hard conversation with them, and understand that conflict will arise. But if you know how to love them, know how to speak to them, know how to coach them, know how to invest in them, it's going to make the relationship so much better in the long run.
Yeah. And if you don't know how to do that, if you say you don't have any friends or deep friends, or you don't know where to get that community, Cruise and midweeks are literally designed for that. Yeah. And you're going through studies together, you're asking questions. So you're learning a lot about each other without really even trying to. So if you want to go the extra 20%, the 80% is already within those Cruise/midweeks, and all you have to do is just go the extra 20 on your own. So it kind of sets you up if you are looking for a community that way.
Dude, okay, funny example. I realized after Mom and I were married for a while, I was trying to figure out her love languages, and I thought I knew them, and I kept trying to figure it out, right? And what I realized was I thought Mom's love language was gifts. And what I came to realize,
could not be further from the truth.
It is not gifts. But you know what it is? Her love language. What is her love language is how much money you saved on the gift you purchased.
That is the truth.
So what I realized was I'd buy her a gift, and she'd be like, "Why'd you buy this? Why'd you buy this?" And I'm like, "Why? I got a really good deal on it, and I saw it and thought about you, and I thought that would be awesome." Well, we don't have the kind of money for this. So what I realized then, Faith, I would buy her a gift, and I would keep the receipt. And then I would highlight how much it cost, and then I would highlight the sale amount. So let's say I got her a ring for our 10-year anniversary, and the ring is like, let's say the ring like $1,000. But the ring only cost me $350 because there was that one. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I love this ring so much." And I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Well, I love it, but I love how much you saved on it." And I'm like, that's what matters to you? So it's kind of funny, but it is. But that's how I've learned in the long run. It's like that means so much to her. It's like, our refrigerator just died.
Yep. We
had to get a new refrigerator. So the things that I want, I'm like, just buy a refrigerator. Like, but she wants to search and do it. And so I'm like, at this point in time, great, search for it. Like, because I know what matters to her.
Yep.
And so there's a couple things. I just want some nice ice. Yeah, that's what I want. I want some. You do whatever you want. You want the water.
Chick-fil-A crushed ice?
I just want Chick-fil-A crushed ice. That's what I want. I want my fridge to produce Chick-fil-A crushed ice. But I realized that's her love language. She wants to research. And so go for it. But eventually we need a refrigerator. But you just kind of realize, do those things frustrate me sometimes? They do. But
look at the bigger picture.
Yeah. So I would say, man, if you're in a relationship and friends are taking you off, they're bumming you out, whatever, just look at it and be like, man, listen, how much is the relationship worth to you?
For sure.
It means a lot. Are they going to bum you out? Probably. If you're my friend, I probably bum you out. To all my friends out there, to Austin and Faith and Stephanie and Marie and Marissa and the whole team and Teresa, I'm sorry. I bum you out sometimes. But it's because you love me.
Yeah.
So it's worth the investment. Yep. Like, just realize I'm going to bum people out. They're going to bum me out. But daggone it, man, I freaking love people, and I love God, and I'm invested in this. And so, if something's happened to you in your past and you have a hard time forgiving, I get it, man. I'm not saying that I'm not condoning what they did. I'm not condoning I'm not condoning how you that you don't feel horrible. What I'm saying is I totally get it. But if you continue to live this life of lack of forgiveness, I'll be honest with you, dude. People in my life that I've met that are bitter, angry, like spiteful people are people that did not learn how to forgive.
Yeah.
And if you learn how to have a forgiving spirit and a forgiving heart, that doesn't mean you overlook your past. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is like you're going to have to begin to realize how do I let some of this go? Because if you can't, in the long run, I think it will decimate your character and your soul. It'll disintegrate like your attitude and your emotional ability to love people again, and you just don't want to get calloused like that.
Yep, for sure. Which kind of is a perfect segue into the next question, which is, how do you know when you truly do forgive someone?
I think to know how you truly forgive somebody, well, the Bible says that God forgives and forgets. Mm-hmm. Our problem is not that we forgive, it's that we can't forget.
Yeah.
And I would say, if I've really forgiven you, okay, let's say you bum me out, right? Let's say you do something, you bum me out. Let's say you're in high school, right, and you do something wrong. And as your dad, you're like, Dad, I'm sorry, and you get punished. I'm like, dude, that's okay. I love you and I forgive you, right? You lied to me, I forgive you. The way that I've worked past that is every time you get in trouble again, I'm like, dude, I can't believe it. Here we go again. Just like you did 3 years ago, lying to me. And like, you're like, dude, I thought you forgave me. Oh, I did, but I'll still. Like, I think if you've moved on, you move on.
Yep.
I'm not going to keep bringing it up. I'm not going to keep rehashing. I'm not going to, I have friends that they can't forget anything. And I'm like, dude, sometimes the greatest thing to do is forget something. Mm-hmm. Because if you keep bringing it up every single time that I bum you out, you're going to go, remember that time you did? I'm like, oh, man, I do, and I'm sorry. Like, for an example, I use an example because Marie never watches, so I don't mind using an example. Like I on a Sunday I got mad one time, and I wasn't mad at her. I was mad at something, but I kind of like got mad at her, and it really bummed her out. Like I didn't.
You're mad at the situation.
I was mad at the situation. She just happened to be there, and like to this day, she doesn't forget that, right? And not that she's like she knows it wouldn't matter to her, but it's like I'm just like, man. So I even joke with her sometimes, like, hey, don't worry, it's not as bad as that one time. I'm like, and so those are the kind of things I'm like, it crushes my heart because I'm like, man, I wish you just forget that. Yep. But it shows you that we want to be protective of people's emotions, because if they don't, whoever said like sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me was an idiot. Yeah. Because listen, you could throw a rock at my head or break my arm and it's going to heal, but there have been things that people have said about me that have changed my life, for sure, and changed my perspective and changed my. There's things people said about me in middle school. You just don't forget. Like you want to forget it, right?
And they're always like just weird things, but
stuff.
Like clammy hands. I remember the first time I gave someone a high five. They're like, "Dude, you just hand sanitizer?" I'm like, "No, this is just my hands." And like now, I'm self-conscious about it every time I give someone a handshake or a high five. If you see me do this before I shake your hand, that's what I'm doing. I'm drying my hands off.
Dude.
Yeah.
Well, even like, you've heard me joke about my ears are pointed. Like when I was born, my ears were like weird. And my mom the doctor said, shape his ears, they'll be fine. But they're like crimped right here, which everyone's looking right now. Stop looking.
Yeah.
But like.
We just call them Legolas.
Dude, I'm an elf. My whole life, people in middle school, and I grew my hair like really, really long and covered my ears. And then I got older, right? And I'm like, who cares? The funny thing is, every single day, I'm 51 years old, well, almost. I look in the mirror every day and I'm like, I see my ears. Yeah. Like I've made the comment before. I'm like, I would get my ears fixed in a heartbeat by a plastic surgeon. Why? But people said that stuff when you're like 12 years old. But it still sticks with you. It's so crazy. And so if you know that, if you know people listen, if you know people hear, if you like, be protective. Like when I say have a hard conversation with somebody, I don't mean decimate them.
Right.
I'm just saying, listen, have the conversation to be able to develop the relationship. And no, man, I might have hurt you. And I would say, when you have that conversation, here's how I go into any hard conversation. Hey, this is how I feel. This does not mean this is real. Like, this may not have been your intention. This may not be reality, but this is how I feel. I feel like when you said that, man, it really hurt. And you might have not meant to hurt me. You might have not meant to say this. Man, and most of the time, people are like, I didn't. Man, I'm glad I brought it up because, man, it's been bothering me and it crushed me.
For sure. And
sometimes they don't even know, Yep. I'll bring it up to people and they're like, man, I didn't know I said that, And back to the Marie situation, like, when that came up, I'm like, I didn't even know that I, it did that, And I've done that to Mom too, where it's like you just get mad or whatever, or I'm sure I probably done it to Faith or you, or like you just in the moment you just get angry, or frustrated or whatever, and you're not thinking how that's being portrayed to somebody else. And so I think the best thing to do is probably don't let time go by because you won't have the conversation. In that moment, be like, hey, you probably didn't mean this. But that came across a little aggressive, and my friendship with you is like way more important to me than thinking about this. So I love you, and that was kind of a bummer, you know. And so when I take it upon like myself to say this is how I feel, your feelings are valid. Mm-hmm. It may not be what they intended it to be, but it may not be reality. But your perception is your reality. It's not reality, but it could not be reality. But it's your reality. And so those are the moments where you just go, man, here's how I felt. And so I would say in those moments, if you're kind of bummed out, if you are frustrated, I think the way to start the conversation is just like, man, hey, this might have not been exactly what you meant. It's how I felt, and I value you way too much to let this go on and ruin our friendship. So, man, I love you, and I'm sorry. And so I think, to going back to the question you asked, then you move on.
Yep.
Then you move forward. It's not like, hey, remember this one time when you had, here we go, got to apologize again. Thinking like, no, man, I'm not, there's stuff that like I probably said to mom or mom said to me for last, 28 years of marriage that have bummed each other out, but I'm not like keeping a log in my phone, and every time she bumps me out, well, here we go again. I remember in 2006 when you said, like, no, because what kind of marriage is that? It's like moving. Yeah, you made a mistake. I made a mistake. We're moving on. We're not gonna tally it up and see who's the better friend. We're moving on. We're forgiving. We're forgetting. I'm sorry that happened. It sucks, but my relationship with you is I love you. We're in this together. Let's move forward, and let's not think about it again.
Yeah, for sure. That's the only way to do it.
How are we doing time-wise? We're done?
Wrapping it up.
We talked a lot today, Faith.
Did.
I'm so sorry. Was that good info, Faith? Did you learn anything? She's like, wrap it up. Okay, we love you all so much. We're cutting right now.
One more episode.
For the
hiatus.
Faith is being honest. She knows my love language. This was a great podcast. Thanks, Faith. Love you so much.
Bye.
See you guys. Well, hey, everybody. We hope you loved this episode of Afterthought. If you did like it, make sure you can comment. Let us know your thoughts. Share it with a friend. Hey, we're dropping new material every single Wednesday.
Yeah. We know you like the video, so leave a like and subscribe because, like you said, we're going to have a video coming every Wednesday. Turn on those notifications so you know when it comes out. You can check it out.
See you next week.